Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, this channel focuses on the ins and outs of living abroad in the beautiful country of Poland. Now, today's video was a topic I didn't want to talk about and I avoided when I first started my channel. However, it is now unavoidable. So for today, we're going to be talking about reproduction rights. Moving to Poland has definitely been an eye-opener, specifically when it comes to abortion. When I first moved here, so that was nearly 4.5 years ago, abortion has never been on the table in Poland. However, there were specific like things in which allowed a woman to get an abortion if they were within this kind of narrow window. However, just recently, like literally when I started my channel, all those avenues of abortion were closed here in Poland. And it kind of hit me really hard several months ago, and I wanted to come on to my channel and talk about it, but I was afraid to talk about an issue that is such a taboo and such a big issue that is 101% politicized. And there was an incident here in Poland where a woman was carrying a baby that was sick, and the doctors were afraid to, give the woman an abortion because of the new laws that had been implemented. And as a result, that woman ended up dying from a staph infection from the baby, because the baby was dying, or the baby was not healthy. And I remember talking to the secretary at my school, and I just cried because although I'm not a woman and I can't reproduce in that way, I don't have a uterus. I have an affinity towards children. I love working with children, and I have always seen myself as a parent. And one of the sad things about being a man is that you can't have children. And if I could change things and if I could have a child, specifically the natural way, I would definitely do it. Now, with that said, I personally, at this time in my life, don't believe in abortion. It's something that I feel that, if I got pregnant, that I would do everything in my power to have the baby. However, in that same breath, I feel that it is every woman's right, every family's right to make that choice for themselves with their body. And for me, I respect people who decide to have an abortion, and I support that. And in addition, I also support people who do not want an abortion. So I respect either side. However, I feel that it has to be 101% a woman's choice and her family's choice. And it has to be a conversation that happens with her doctor. And if that particular woman is religious and she gets a lot of her advice from her spirituality, that has to be a conversation that she has with her God. And that's how, in my mind, it should proceed. Like I said, I was heartbroken about the woman here in Poland that passed away due to the fact of not being able to get an abortion, or doctors being afraid to perform an abortion, and with the idea that they would be penalized or they would be arrested or lose their practice or lose their licenses. And so I remember that happened, and I went to university, and I was having a conversation with one of my peers, or maybe a professor, or maybe someone on the street, and that came up. And I remember that person kind of saying, "Oh, well, at least that's not an issue in America." And I remember thinking, well, I wasn't well versed on the issue. I knew that in the state that I'm from, in California, that was quite liberal when it came to reproductive health. And, I knew for sure in California that, women are permitted to get abortions, and there are some limitations and some rules that have to be followed, but it's not against the law. And I know that some other states are completely different, specifically like Texas. And I remember thinking to myself, well, it's definitely a privilege to be from a country where, a woman has a right to make that decision. And I kind of stored it in the back of my head and I kind of didn't think about it at all. Then this whole case with abortion and it has went to the Supreme Court, and the idea that a woman or a family will not have the right to decide what they want to do with their future, or a woman with her body, to me it's crazy. I think that there are specific circumstances where even if I were pregnant, that I would highly have to consider abortion, because it would be a danger to maybe the baby, the new baby. It would be a danger to myself, and if I were a mother with children, I could potentially lose my life, and then these children would be orphaned. America is not a country where we have a really good health system, or a really good mental health system in order to assist people when they go through traumatic things. And so to then kind of throw this on top of people, I'm not sure how I would feel, or how people would feel about having children or getting pregnant, because there is this fear that maybe if there's a complication, that you wouldn't be able to even consider having an abortion, or you would have to kind of go under the radar and have an abortion, which could make it dangerous, this procedure even more dangerous, or you would have to leave the country and have an abortion. Now, I know here in Poland, women do leave the country to have abortions. I know that I've heard that women go to the Czech Republic and some women go to Germany. And there are facilities in those countries that assist women. There is an organization that even helps assist women who can't pay for the procedure, and maybe who can't pay for the travel and pay for staying abroad to have the procedure done and to kind of be looked after the abortion has occurred. Now, I'm not sure if the law passes in America, and what that would mean and what that would look like. So I think we're all in a bit of limbo about what it would look like and what it would mean. However, my thought is, and just kind of being critical about the whole situation, even with the situation here in Poland, I 101% love living in Poland. I find this liberation in being here. And I know that's paradoxical to the fact that Poland is a bit more conservative than all of its neighbors. But there are aspects of Poland that I enjoy, and that's the reason why I'm still here, and that's the reason why I'm going to continue being here until my partner and I find a better opportunity somewhere else where we can do something different. But I find that living here and having the opportunity to go to countries that are more restrictive when it comes to specific issues that we make taboo, because these issues are made taboo because of us as humans. We, give it that stamp. That when you are in a society with extremes, and the extreme could be like a society with absolutely no abortion, and the other extreme could be a society where there is no regulation of abortions, and that where people can do whatever they want to do with their bodies, even though that might be detrimental to, let's say, their families, or detrimental to society as a whole. So there has to be some middle ground. There definitely has to be some middle ground. It can't just be this one far extreme where healthy babies are being aborted because maybe a person doesn't want to have a daughter, and she prefers to have a son, or where a woman is potentially going to die because of the pregnancy, and the abortion could save her life. So those are extremes, and I find when there are extremes, it definitely affects countries in all sorts of different ways. Here in Poland, I think that having the extreme of not being able to have an abortion, it's hard for me to see. And as I'm living here, I hope to kind of dig into it and kind of witness it and kind of be more critical to see how that affects culture as a whole and how that affects the lives of Polish people in general. You- I have seen when I was in other countries where there are extremes, for instance, Morocco, where there's like this kind of silent or almost invisible kind of like veil or invisible like stuffiness in the air. And it's a place, I felt, Morocco, even though it's a great country, where I felt like people didn't feel like they could be 101% themselves. They couldn't be genuine to themselves. They couldn't be genuine to their inner desires and their inner feelings because of the conservativeness kind of imposed on them and the ideas that are imposed on them. And right now in Poland, like, I don't have enough information, I don't have enough observations to really give a proper critique. But my feeling is that when you live in the extremes, something has to give, like something has to kind of balance that extreme. And typically the balance, especially when we think of dystopian literature and we think of societies where you have that extreme, that it kind of starts to unravel and unfold itself into something quite sinister and something not for the benefit of society at all. For United States to potentially make these laws that will prevent abortion, for me, is a bit scary in the sense that it's my home country, but it's scary because America has a big influence. And unlike Poland, America has a lot of other issues that I think would impact it differently than the way Poland is impacted by the fact that it doesn't have abortion. And it's difficult to see kind of the what the consequences would be if something were to come into play, and what other structures in America that are not functional could be kind of driven into more dysfunction. I've tried to live in, this bubble, and I've talked about that on several of my videos, where when you move abroad or even when you live where you are, create a bubble. You have to create a bubble because there's no country is going to be perfect. No country is going to be like ideal. No country is going to be utopian. However, with that said, I'm so happy that I'm abroad because I'm able to kind of see what's happening in the States, and I am kind of analyzing what has happened here in Poland with abortion, and hopefully I'm able to come to a more critical analysis, a critical thought, and formulate a critical opinion. And hopefully in the future, I'll be able to share that with you here on YouTube, where I feel like we should be having these conversations, regardless where we fall on the spectrum, right? We should definitely be having these conversations because the decisions are going to affect everyone. They're going to affect everyone across the board. In closing, I just want to say that it's hard. It is definitely hard to kind of sit here in Poland and feel powerless. With the laws that were happening here, I felt really strongly against it, but I was afraid to protest because I was afraid that because I am not Polish, that could potentially make me a target, or that would make it hard for me to live here. And again, in the States, I feel powerless because I don't live there and I'm not able to kind of like advocate for people who can't advocate for themselves, or kind of to add to that voice so the voice is louder. So this is my voice. This is me keeping with my integrity and speaking my piece and using my voice in a positive way. Again, please don't come for me. If you have a different opinion than me, I respect your opinion, and I hope you will respect my opinion. So please, if you have a different opinion than me, please don't come for me. If you want to talk, let's have a dialogue. Let's have a respectful conversation. And with that, I'm going to leave you for this evening. And if you like this kind of content, I know that my content is all over the place, but it is changing. I find that I'm not a political channel, and I wanted to specifically talk about my life here in Poland, but everything is interconnected. And my life is affected by things that happen in the States, and they're affected by the laws and policies that happen here in Poland. So if you like this content, as it is growing, changing, and morphing, please hit that like and subscribe button. And please, if you have an opinion, if you want to add your opinion to this piece, do not be afraid to drop your comments. Okay? Do not be afraid to drop them. Have a great evening, and I definitely can't wait to see you next week.